What's up, everybody? We're back. We're back again. Welcome to UFC Card Collab, episode 25. We have some great topics to discuss today. Some 2025 product talk, answer a few questions. One from Matt, aka Golden Octagon. We're going to talk about Bo Nickal losing, some 2025 rookie matchup stuff. And of course, we're going to talk with you guys in the chat. So Damien, I know you're back in Australia. Thank you for coming on today. It's morning over there, and I'm like happy to see you haven't gotten eaten by any giant spiders or bitten by any venomous snakes. I know it's dangerous out there, so thanks for coming on, man.
Yeah, I was wrestling some koalas yesterday, but they seem to be leaving me alone today. But
Nice.
yeah, it is early, 7 a.m. for us Australian folks, but we are making way because it is a big pay-per-view event coming up later today for you guys. So we don't want the people complaining, so we're getting this one in before that, which will be good. It's good, should be good fun. But yeah, you've got a lot of exciting topics to discuss here, so it's going to be fun.
Yes, sir. All right, we got some people in the chat. We'll head over there for a second before we get started into our topics. We got Objecto. What's up, dude? Thanks for coming by, man. Thanks for stopping by, whether it's good morning, good afternoon, or good night. We got Matt from the Golden Octagon. What's up, dude? Yeah, everybody hit the like button. What's our like goal? What's our like goal, Damien? What sounds good for this time?
I reckon we'll go with, what do we go? I'll say 10, but I don't know what we get last time.
I think it was like 15, maybe, something like that. 16.
Oh, we'll go with 15. No, we can't go backwards.
All right, 15 plus, guys. Hit the like button.
15.
What up, man? MMA Loves here. Yes, sir. Working, getting ready. Luke's getting ready for the fights tonight. I'm sure everybody's hyped about that. All right, and we got Objecto. Australia, 12 hours ahead of the value trends. Nice. Yeah, dude, the down under, but they're on top of us with the time. They're ahead of us. What up, Matty Mac? Matty Mac's over there with you.
Matty Mac must have got up real early this morning, but I think, Objecto Buzz, he's over there in Canada, I believe, so bit of a time difference as well. Oh, thumbs down.
And we got RV and Knack. What's up, Roman? Thanks for stopping by, man. Let's go ahead. Yes, sir. So we'll go ahead and get into some of the topics that we're going to talk about today. We got a lot of stuff on the docket, on the program. First off, we'll just talk about some of the new products coming up. We had royalties over. We're going to have a lot of, new product buzz. A ton of different leagues, Damien. Like I'm seeing like Chrome. I've seen Midnight, seen Knockout. I've seen Finest. So like already we have 4 products that they're already concurrently working on, with Top. So I think they're going to really kind of get these out pretty quickly. Obviously, there's going to be more to come from the 4. I think we had 6 last year, so I'm curious to see how many they have this year. Thoughts on product amount? Do you think they're going to have way more? Do you think it'll be similar? What's kind of your thoughts on some of that?
I think it's going to be similar because obviously we're getting a bit tricked here. We just had 2024 royalty in April, but it is May now of 2025, and we have not had a 2025 product. So they are cutting the window short in terms of getting 2025 product rolled out. I know there was a little bit of gaps here and there last year. I believe Chrome came out in April as well. So we only technically are a month behind. No release date for Chrome as of yet, 2025. But yeah, they're going to have to start getting through them a little bit if they're going to have all the products come out this year.
Yeah, man, that'll be interesting. You got a thumbs down again. There must be something on the program that you holding the mic does the thumbs up or thumbs down. That's hilarious.
It's a time of morning, mate.
Yeah, they're like, it's too early. That's funny, man. No, yeah, it's always interesting whenever they give us, the year is kind of like off. We saw it with Panini. They kind of did the same thing. Topps is doing the same thing. But with them already having so many leaks and them already working on all of these on-card autos and kind of, getting that out, for some reason, I'm kind of thinking they might make up some time this year because they were so far back here. And, they did get the license relatively late into that year in 2024. So it'll be interesting to see kind of what happens with that. And we'll go back to the chat real quick, and then we'll move over to the little bit of the next topic. Let's see. Roman, you guys think we'll see 2025 coming out in 2026? I would imagine maybe. I don't think it'll be as deep into the year. What do you think, Damien?
It's hard. Yeah, it's always hard to tell. I mean, they are getting, as you said, we're getting Finest and things like that autos getting signed now, which is a good sign because that was later in the year, obviously well later in the year last year, for example. It's always hard to tell. I hope not, but there's always a strong chance. But as I said, I think over the next few years, Tops are going to have the license for a while. I think they'll iron these things out, and then hopefully, 2026, for example, all the products will be on time, and they'll start rolling forward in terms of releases. But yeah, it's definitely possible, I think, given the second year in.
Yeah, man. I'm curious to see what they do with some of the on-demand release products. They did the Noche box, they did the NYC type of box with the Madison Square Garden event, and honestly, I don't really understand why they did those. I'm sure it pulled resources from the company that they could have been using for the major product drops that they had and the hobby boxes. So I'm also very curious to see if they're going to do that this year. Are they going to stay away from that? It kind of seemed like both of those. I think the Noche did a little bit better. But like the sneak drop aspect, I never liked it when they did the sneak drops with Panini and they put like, the packs online that you could buy, the White Sparkle Kaboom pack in 2022, similar things like that. I was never a big fan of those. What are your thoughts on the NYC and the Noche box? Do you think they do that again, or do they just completely scrap it? What do people think about that?
No, I'm not confused why they do it. I mean, don't you like money, Zach? Everyone likes money, so
yeah, right.
That's what they're doing when they're printing cards these days. They're printing money, but I think I would be surprised if they didn't continue with it. Onto what scale is hard to know, but yeah, I'm not that big of a fan of it as well, given that we are getting Tops now products on top of that as well. So I think, if you're going to have an instant release, because it almost is an instant release in terms of what the cards represent, but I guess it's fun. There's a lot of people who probably do like it, so it does give people more options. But I would be happy if they kept with the Tops now instead. But I wouldn't be surprised to see more of those later in the year if they have some bigger events, especially that Madison Square Garden event in November.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Down with it. Loves the graffiti background, man. We're in the streets right now. Me and Damien we're in the streets right now with the graffiti background. We got. Time the rookie card gets released, half of them have already retired. I think that may be a little overstatement, but I understand what you're saying. And Roman likes that comment. All right, so we're talking about new products. We're talking about rookie cards. I got a couple images that I want to share. And kind of pick your brain on, Damien. So we got this right here. I don't know this guy. He might be a great fighter, and I've never seen him fight. But what I thought was interesting about this one is this is the 1 of 1 for this year. It's pink, and it also it's a Topps Chrome. It's on card, but it kind of looks like the Topps Chrome Saphire. Have you seen any of those with other products? It kind of has that vibe to it. So like maybe we get that this year. I don't know. But it is interesting, one that they went with the 1 of 1 to be pink, which I'm not, I'm a super factor boy. So a little bit interesting there. What's your thought on the pink and maybe potentially getting Saphire?
I think as I said, like if we're keeping in line with other releases, especially WWE, which Topps got last year as well, I think that, Topps only got WWE this year, but if we do get Saphire, it's another release on top of Chrome, and that definitely looks like this one is. Pink 101, not the biggest fan. It is a little bit different. There'll be people
who
different. Like it, so
yeah, it is different.
Yeah,
it'd be bright and shiny at least. I mean, and like the kind of cracked ice vibe on the bordering, like that probably is going to look good in some different parallels. We got another look at the Angie Overkill Hill here. Vertical, it looks like we're probably going to get a lot of verticals with some of these. I know some of the rookies that we'll talk about in a little bit are vertical autos as well on card, and it looks clean, man. It looks pretty clean. We'll see what the photography's like, but from some of these leaks that I've seen, I'm pretty excited about it, honestly.
Yeah, blue ink with a blue sapphire cracked ice background there is a nice looking card for sure.
Oh yeah, man, can't get any mad at that. Let's see, what do we got in the chat? A couple people. We got 12 likes already, Damien. We're gonna try and beat 15. So if you're watching, thank you for watching. Go ahead, hit that like button. We got RV and Knack here. What's Roman talking about? I don't mind the event boxes. So he's talking about NYC and Noche. Make them good quality. In my opinion, Noche boxes seemed half cooked. NYC quality was nice. I didn't get any of those, to be honest. So good that at least some of the quality on the later releases were good. As far as other products, I know that we are going to get also Finest. And I got this one to show you guys and to show you Damien, which I thought was pretty cool. And it's going to be that we are going to get some thoughts from the boss. So I know a lot of people like these in the past. What do you think? Do you think you like these? Do you think the people will like these? Is it too played out? What's your thought?
No, I think people like these. I think given that haven't seen these for almost 10 years, if not over 10 years now, and there's a lot more fighters who are coming to the roster, and there's a lot more coming to the sport, even collecting and both viewership. So I actually think this is good. This is a welcome back for Topps UFC for sure. What were you
Nice.
thinking?
Yeah, I was like in the middle on this, because initially when I thought of this, I was like, dude, that's pretty sick. You know, the thoughts from the boss back in the day were awesome. You know, we could get some updated people on that roster within that checklist. But then I was thinking, man, Dana seems to be like in every single product now, which it was not the case in the past. He was kind of like, he was sporadically signing, he was sporadically in products. For him to be in so many different products and so many products recently, it kind of has me like in the middle on it. But from like a flipping and just from a value standpoint, I mean, he's extremely popular and he does sell pretty well. So I think there could be, a little bit of a boost just from this one card and people wanting to chase this because Dana is kind of popular and he is kind of a hit. So all in all, I think it's a good thing personally, but we'll see what the people think as we move on. And as Dana kind of fades from the spotlight, I'm curious to see what happens to his cards overall. Does he maintain value? Does he increase because he's kind of out and people are nostalgic? Or, is he going to oversaturate and just be, kind of blah as time moves on?
Yeah, I guess we'll be able to see, because if the people doing pick your fighter breaks, Dana White spots, what are they going to be going for in terms of picking that card up? And then you're always going to be in a bit of a 50-50 flip with another pick your fighter spot break as well, because obviously there's another fighter signed on that card. So that'd actually be pretty interesting to see as that unrolls as well.
Yeah, definitely, man. Always interesting to see how everything breaks out with all of these products and all the new news and new people that are released as we go into the future. Maddie Mac, thank you for telling me this. Is your mic even on? Hard to hear. I adjusted the levels. Hopefully it's better. Feel free to. That was on me. I thought I had the levels adjusted appropriately, but I guess not. So thank you for shouting that out so I can fix that. And also my MacBook is absolutely sprinting right now. It is at max capacity, and hopefully we don't have any crazy technical difficulties as we move along this one, Damien. All right. So we had a really good question this week for the viewer question, and it was from Matt from the Golden Octagon. Basically, thanks for the question, by the way. And also in the chat right now, if you guys have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat so we can answer them right now or in the future on future shows. The next one will be another live, and it's going to be on Damien's channel. So go ahead and sub to him if you're not, and kind of be ready for that in the future. But Damien, the question was, if you had to remove 2 sets from the 2024 Topps lineup of products in exchange for any one previous Topps product, which 2 are you cutting out and which one are you bringing back? So people in the chat, feel free to answer that. And Damien, what are your thoughts?
All right, well, we'll start with what we're going to cut out to make way for this set that I want back. No surprise, Topps royalty. I mean, did anyone actually like that product? I'm not sure, but we're cutting that one out. I don't want to see that. Not royalty, sorry. Gold label.
Oh, you're going with the cheap gold label, huh?
I want gold label out. I think if they're going to make a cheap product, they can do something better than that. And then the other product I'm happy to get rid of is going to be Topps Midnight. But I think that I can understand. I mean, they're bringing it back, so I think people did.
It is, man. It's back.
In terms of what they like. But if I was to pick as a personal choice, I would be getting rid of Midnight. Now, what I want to bring back. This was actually a pretty hard choice. I didn't enjoy this question from Matt at the Golden Octagon. He's come in with an absolute burner just for his first question. I'm going to give two honorable quick mentions just because from
Oh, he's
design.
cheating. Look at him. He's cheating, dude. That's my playbook is to cheat, Damien. So I like that you're getting in on the cheating right here.
As an admirer of design and collectability, I'm going to give a quick mention to Panini Prism and Topps Museum. Now, the only reason I'm not choosing these is because I'm happy for Topps, for Panini Prism to keep it at 3 years and not have any more years of Prism. And same with Topps Prism, Panini Prism, and with Topps Museum. There's only 4 years of that, so I'm happy for that. And I think Royalty, even Knockout to some degree, have taken over in terms of what the design of Museum looked like previous years, which a lot of people liked. But the set I'm going to choose is Topps Bloodlines.
Oh,
I mean,
nice.
it debuted way back in 2012, which wasn't that long ago in interest in terms of cards and trading cards. We're going to have some images up here. We had it all in this set. We had autos. We had these patriotic autos, which were, I mean, we had this flag parallel. Who doesn't want this card? I certainly
Yeah, that's
do.
a nice one.
It had dual autos as well. They've got the rookie patch there for my guy, Max Holloway. Yeah, we had dual autos. And we even had something that was called a Countryman Quad Auto, which you'll have an example there that you can probably pull up. It's got the females on it though, but this was basically a card that had all 4 autos from fighters from the same country. So for States or Brazil, for example, they were always limited to 25. We had the relics as well, dual relics as we had as well for different fighters, which was, I mean, I don't know if we've had dual relics since then, have we? But I think this set had it all in mind, and I think it really highlights the importance of the international aspect that MMA and the UFC have in terms of, where the fighters come from across the world, and none other than that flag parallel, which sort of highlights the origin country for that fighter, which I think was really, really cool. So I would love to see Bloodlines back in 2026, for example.
Nice, man. I love it. Yeah, we definitely went 2 different paths with this question, which is always fun, and to kind of pick each other's brain is kind of what this show's all about, and what I appreciate about you guys watching and commenting, because you can kind of get a really diverse thought and a really diverse round opinion on things like this. So you're kind of going with more of the vintage, a little bit more of the higher end. You even cut Gold Label, which was pretty cost effective, one of the cheaper sets for people, and I kind of went the complete opposite on this. So if we're keeping, I was really kind of trying to keep price in perspective in this question. And in doing that, Royalty is out, man. Royalty is out. With it being, reselling for $700 to $1,000, that was a really easy cut for me. Another reason I'm kicking Royalty out is because Topps is like spoiling us right now with on-card autos. I mean, half the products we had last year were on card. And the more on cards that we have, not to say that it devalues the like premium products, but like it kind of does in a sense, because at a certain point there isn't that much of a difference between the higher end cards and like Knockout and in Royalty, besides that huge price tag if both of them are on card autos. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cut Topps Royalty. I'm also going to cut, again, because of price, I'm going to cut Topps Knockout. And that might be a hot take, man. But the but $279.99 is way and was way too expensive for this. I like some of the inserts, I like some of the autos, but just from like thinking of what do I think the consumer would appreciate the most, that price tag again is crazy. I mean, that's basically very close to 2 times as much as Finest was. And Finest was probably one of my favorite products of the year. So considering the price, I'm going to cut that out as well. Also, the one I'm going to bring back is a cheapo, dude. It's a cheap product. The people, it's for the people, Damien. Again, it might be a hot take here, but I'm doing it for the people. I'm bringing it back, a cheap fun set. This one's going to be priced like 100 or 120, right? So we're all going to be able to afford this. Everybody can potentially get a box, and there's so many different designs, so many of the who's who of fighters in this, and I'm talking about 2023 Chronicles. Also, one thing that I really like about Chronicles is we get kabooms, man. We can go kaboom hunting. And I was surprised to see the resale value on some of these kabooms, Damien. I had no idea. These are going for like 800 to, 1,000, which now granted, these are all gem 10s, which is, it's going to boost the price a little bit. But I was very surprised to see that these are that expensive and that they're going for this much on the secondary market. So 2023 Chronicles, I'm bringing it back for the people, the people's champ, 23 Chronicles. what do you think about that? And then we'll go to the chat.
I stopped listening after you said you get rid of knockout to completely honest. How dare you get rid of a product that's been around since year 2 of UFC trading cards?
Too expensive, dude. It's too expensive.
Probably the most well-named set as well that UFC have had in terms of the sport. But no, Chronicles, especially 2023, if you're going as far as, the exact year for 2023 Chronicles, that's cool. Because for like, return on box-wise, it was a cheap fun set. The designs were really cool. A lot of autos as well that were put out in 2023. So it was always just a fun rip in terms of that. And as you said, kabooms, especially 2022 kabooms, which were individual packs, but even 2023 kabooms, they go for really good money. They're really collectible. So definitely don't hate on that pick for sure.
Nice, man. All right, we got catch up here on the comments. Jack, what's up, dude? You two are the UFC YouTube pound for pound champs. Wow, very gracious. Thank you so much. Appreciate everybody watching. Again, we're at 18 likes, Damien. We hit it. Boom, we hit it.
Damn.
We hit it just like JDM's gonna find that chin and hit that chin tonight in the main event. I appreciate you guys for liking this video right here. Let's see, we got a vote for Museum. So down with it's bringing back Museum. You mentioned that in yours. Really nice set. Can't get mad at that. Objecto, let's see, he got an interesting point here. How long will it be before they bring back retro designs? That's actually very cool. If we could get like a round 1, of updated with like Hamza, I think that's actually a really fun idea. And we see that a lot in other sports. I'm kind of surprised. I guess we've seen it somewhat, like we saw it with the Intimidators, but that wasn't necessarily a UFC design. It was just a design from sports in general. But that would be really cool if they brought back like some type of a retro design. I think people would go crazy for those. So that's a really good idea. 20-year anniversary, Matty Mac 2029. We need to send this in. This is why the brass at Tops need to be watching these shows, man, because the people are giving some really good ideas right now, and people would love them. Let's see. Cheaps down with it. Cheaps help you want to finish a set. Completely agree. Value is important, man, and that's why personally I liked Gold Label. That's why I chose 23 Chronicles as well. All right, dude. Very fun. Thank you guys again for watching. We're gonna move on to the next topic right here, which is, I did the little template, or not template, but the thumbnail, Damien, of Bo just getting absolutely cracked in the sternum from RDR. And so we'll do a little Bo Nickal talk, and we'll talk about prospecting and how crazy that can be, man. I mean, we're talking about a guy that was, the golden boy. He's on top of the world. He has some of the craziest sales of 2023, unranked, was fighting, literally fighting cans whenever he fought. I forget the guy that was a landscaper. I mean, props to him for getting to, live out his dream and grind and get to that point. But he was literally a landscaper. Bo fights him. I believe, was that on the main card too? I think that was on the main card, which is insane to think back on. Yes. The hobby darling, he loses. Go ahead.
I was going to say that they started giving him the O'Malley spot, which was like the opening of the main cards. It's what O'Malley. Pretty
crazy, man. I'm seeing a lot of people say like he got fraud checked and all that. Personally, I don't think that's fair. I mean, that's a guy who's a 2-division champ in another very big organization like one. So it's not like he was just some random guy. He's also beaten Kevin Holland and Gerald Mearshart. I'm talking about RDR right now. So I definitely don't think that Bo got fraud checked. I mean, there's definitely a world where he is derailed a bit now and is able to, come back and be better in his next fight. But again, whenever we're talking about sales like this that I'll pull up, like $15,000, Damien. $15,000, man. Like that is so risky, and I really hope people are, you know, being conservative with some of that, because what is this card going to sell for next? If we had to ballpark, what would you guess?
Oh, I mean, I think that it'd struggle to hit 15,000 even if he won the title from now. Let's
Yeah.
not get this twisted. His career, his people are getting them mixed up. His career is not fraud checked, but his hobby value was
Okay.
fraud checked, in my opinion. Because as I said, like career wise, Bo will bounce back from this. He's a professional athlete. Only from what I understand of wrestling, like these guys are the hardest workers in the typically. So he's going to still apply and, you know, build his way back up through MMA. But as you mentioned, he was outselling Alex Pereira, both rookies in
Yeah.
2023 Prism, like all throughout 2023, which is in both sales volume and numbers. Obviously, we talked about, I talked about this in a video before, but it's just absolutely insane. And I don't know, I think this could potentially be a situation where people have got so much money tied up in Bo, maybe we don't see that much of a drop. I mean, obviously the demand's going to go down for a bit, but if he can get back himself into title contention, although it doesn't make sense, which, you know, UFC cards don't make sense sometimes, but I think we could see a possible situation where some of the bigger Bo cards just go in hiding, and people are trying to hold their value that they've already put into Bo, because this is not in terms of his cards. So people are going to protect their money as much as they can, which I can understand.
No, yeah, I like that, man. I understand completely. The, you know, investing versus speculating, you know, comes to mind whenever we're talking about, you know, these type of prices, and whenever we're talking about rookies like this. Like, man, that's just, it's so scary to me. People, you know, have like balls of steel when you're spending 15 grand. And we're talking about a guy that had fought 0 ranked opponents. Really didn't have any like notable wins. I guess Cody Brundage was, you know, somewhat of a notable win. And then he had Paul Craig, who, you know, is kind of getting aged out. But like, man, very, very scary. And to kind of highlight the point here, let's flip over on Card Ladder and let's look at what you could have bought with the same amount. You could have you could have bought this. Now, granted, it wasn't 2022, so it was a little bit ago. But like, crazy. Like, this is an investment. This is safe. Like, you know, it might dip a little bit, but like, you're not gonna lose half of this overnight or within a year. Because let's say Bo loses again, like then is he kind of like tanked? Like, it's gonna be tough. So very, very scary. And hopefully a lot of people out there, you know, didn't lose too much. And weren't too heavily invested into Bo, and just in the macro, hopefully you're not too heavily invested into somebody that's not necessarily proven, or you got the money to spend and who cares. But man, I just thought that was interesting, man, and to see how quickly people are like turning on him too, saying fraud checked and stuff like that. It's like, dude, it's crazy out there.
Yeah, it is. But as you said, it's definitely a warning to people who are looking to put in big money into prospects. But as I said, who knows? We'll see what happens. We all could be wrong. That could be a $50,000 card in 2027 when Bo's, you know, champion, for example. So who knows?
Yep. Again, it's called speculating for a reason. Like, we have no idea what the future is going to hold, and it's a huge risk. But sometimes those risks pay off, right? All right, we'll head back to the chat here and see what the people are saying. Bo needs to stop riding his talent and start to get hungry. He relies on talent too much. Look at Hamzat, who is talented and hungry. I mean, I'm sure he's working hard, right? I'm sure he's working hard. It's just whenever you come into a sport like this, and you know, how long has he been training? Was it 2021? Has it been 4 or 5 years, Damien? What's your guess on that?
Yeah, I think it was probably 2021 at earliest type thing. Yeah, he was pretty quick off the mat and then straight into MMA. And then he had 2 fights and he was on the Contender Series. So
yeah, so he really jumped in quick. And I mean, again, that's kind of a testament to, one, how talented he is to actually be successful in the UFC against a guy like Paul Craig, you know, against Cody Brundage, who's been around a while. I mean, he is a prospect for a reason, and he is highly touted for a reason. He has a great skill set. So we'll see what happens in the future, man. Again, I'm going to actually now might be a little bit closer. We'll see if his values do sell. I think you're right on the money about people holding on, because if you're bought in that high, it doesn't necessarily make sense to just scalp yourself and, you know, lose 30% of the value trying to get some of that back. So hopefully people don't fall into that trap, and maybe wait a little bit and see if he can come back. Jack's saying the RDR loss will age well. Has a long way to go. I wouldn't be surprised if he comes remotely close. Yeah, man, I think RDR is Also going to age well. I mean, he's already got that fight with Whittaker. How crazy is that? I mean, I guess he came out unscathed against Bo. He's already set, I think it was late July, to fight Whittaker. So that'll be a really fun fight. And we'll see what happens with him. And we'll talk about him here in a second as well. Bo needs to go spar with Strickland. If they're in stand-up, I think that would be that would be a beatdown, dude. That'd be a beatdown, but it would be good, right? I'm sure he's sparring with some of the best people on the planet. Let's see. Talking about RDR. All right, so speaking of RDR, right? Let's talk about him. And Damian, is he like what type of pricing are we going to put on him? Is he now, after that fight, is he one of the biggest rookies in 2025? Just like that overnight, is he one of the biggest rookies after beating Bo?
I don't, biggest rookies. I think he's up there in terms of, like, obviously we've got 6 guys on the board there. 3 of them are coming off losses. In Peyton Talbot, Kai obviously just lost to the belt, to Pantoja, and Prates just lost to Garry. But I don't think he has the hype. I don't think he has the hype behind his name. He beat Bo Nickal, but obviously the story is Bo Nickal sucks, not how good RDR is.
Right.
I just don't think he carries the hype that you would need for someone to carry a rookie class. I think he will do well. I think he will do well against some people, but you know, the highest rookie chase, definitely not. I think there's a couple other guys there in front of him, but I think we'll see some solid pricing for him for sure. But as I said, far from the top. What are you thinking?
I don't know. I'm kind of in the middle because I understand what you're saying. You know, you have guys like Gene Silva, Rufy, even Prates coming off that loss, Talbot, who probably have a lot more of, like, in the zeitgeist, probably more a little steam behind their name. But I mean, a guy like RDR to make that statement against Bo Nickal, like, if you're into this, right? One, if you're into cards, but 2, if you're just into MMA and the UFC, like, you are paying attention to Bo Nickal. So I'm very curious to see how RDR goes as far as his card sales, because everybody in the card space was paying attention to that fight, and Bo losing made such a big buzz, you know, that he might be like one of the top 3 guys in this class now, which is awesome because he was somebody I was paying attention to, but he definitely, you know, wasn't going to be one of the top 3, you know, until that fight happened, until he got all that buzz. So very, very, very interesting there. We'll go back to the chat real quick. And Damian, I lost you. Come back. Let's see. I don't want to see Rob get destroyed. Now I completely understand. Damian's back and he's sideways. Look at him go. There we go. Yeah, man, no, I completely understand. Whittaker, you know, he's been around forever. He's a fan favorite. To see him get mauled by Khamzat was both, you know, super fun, but also very sad because he's been around so long. So we'll see what happens with Whittaker and RDR. You never know what Rob is going to show up, because sometimes he looks like he can't be beaten. Sometimes he looks, you know, like with the Khamzat fight, like, you know, maybe he didn't take it serious, or he just got outclassed that night. Who knows? We got Roman.
Yeah, it's hard to know when someone gets steamrolled that quick.
Yeah.
But, I think we're going to see a really good fight between RDR and Whittaker.
Roman, breakers are going to have a field day pricing for 2025 rookies. Yeah, man, talk about a flop in 2024. Well, not a flop in the negative connotation, but like a flip in 2024 being like pretty low and sparse with rookies, to 2025. I feel like we're spoiled. I mean, we'll see how the next year plays out, but like this could be, and we don't even know who all is in the class. Like, we could have some other people out there that are, you know, a dark horse in their division, or somebody that pops in the middle of the year. So I'm really excited as far as the rookie class goes this year. And we got Dirty D4D. I feel like all these guys should have been rookies last year. I mean, a lot of times with the UFC, the rookie class is kind of a little bit late, but I mean, this happens every single year, where towards the end of the year, you get people that, you know, are really popping right now that are not going to be put in until the next year. So that's kind of just how it goes. But I think we just got to be grateful that we don't get another dud year like 2024, because that was pretty rough, especially the first half of that year, dude.
Yeah, no, I think, as you were pointing out, I think this is honestly the best rookie class that we've had since 2022. Because even 2023, we had Bo, we had Pereira, we had, this is going to be a good one for sure this year. So,
yeah, man, it'll be exciting to see what happens here at the end. We got RV and Knack talking about Marcus McGee is one of his dark horse picks. If he gets to fight with Jan, it will be his biggest test. Cool to hear that. I always like to hear other rookie names that are not necessarily on my radar. So hopefully we'll get him this year, and it'll be somebody else to look out for. Yeah, and then we also get, Matt says Alex Rookie Card had him with a belt. Like sometimes we get this situation. 2021, Yuri Prohaska, Brandon Moreno come to mind. Like they were basically, right after they got dropped, they were like in title contention and like top of the heap contenders. So it's always interesting when we get guys that, Kayla Harrison is kind of another example where she's like, when she got released in 24, she was right on the cusp. And then shortly after, you know, now she has the title shot. So really interesting examples there as well. If you're watching, go ahead, hit that like button. We're at 21, Damien. We're at the mountaintop, dude. We got past 15
Smashed
again. It. Freaking awesome, man.
Smashed it.
Smashing it. Well, I don't even know how to say this one. VW Baiwama Mokayev, that boy wild. And yeah, dude, what? That's probably the craziest storyline of last year, in my opinion, was him beating Cop and then immediately getting cut, dude. That was insane. Talking about speculation from earlier, like we don't know what's going to happen with some of these unproven guys, and absolutely insane, dude, insane. All right, so what are we moving on to next? We're moving on to another savage, Damien, another guy that is going to be in 2025 that had a ridiculous performance, and people, we're talking about Jean Silva, and here is as he just hoofs over Bryce Mitchell after this crazy like ninja choke finish. Really insane, man. Really cool fight. I really enjoyed that fight and that finish. It really goes to show how like a style can really put your opponents on the back heel, and just like a mindset some of these guys have. And what's your thoughts on him in 2025, both as, you know, a fighter, will he make a run, and also just a card pricing?
Yeah, I think obviously he's going to 2025. He's had 2 fights already, I think. But yeah, he's going to be in title contention very shortly. I think he'll get 1 or 2, max 2 more before he gets to the belt, if he can get, you know, through to maybe top 5 opponents now. Card wise, I think we are looking at the biggest chase. It should be the biggest chase of 2025 in terms of the rookie class, because of 2 reasons. The performances that he's been on, he's looked really good, and he does it in stylish fashion, whether it's sub or knockout. And then also too, his antics, you know, pre-fight, even post-fight here, this is the stuff that makes headlines. This is the stuff that the UFC brand sells. And I think this is the stuff that, you know, is going to help him card-wise as well, because he's going to get some of the more casuals in here knowing him as a fighter as he pushes towards the title. So, as I said, I wouldn't be surprised if Jean Silva is the biggest rookie chase now for 2025 product.
Nice. Yeah, no, I agree. I think he was definitely up at the top. I was curious to see how that Prates fight went. Obviously, Prates loses that fight. I thought if he could beat Garry or potentially stop Garry, he might even bump above Jean Silva. But you're right, man. He's kind of got the perfect fighting style. It's super exciting. He's a wild man inside and out of the cage. So I think people are really going to respect that, enjoy that, and get behind him and root for him, and in turn buy his card. So it'll be interesting to see who is the biggest chase in 2025 as we kind of get closer and go through that. We got some people in the chat talking. We got some dudes talking about who they like. You know, we got Talbot, a lot of hype last year. Yep, he should be a big one. I'm curious to see what he does in his next matchup as well, if he can get on the right side of that. He's obviously a very talented striker, and he has a kind of a good personality and a good social media brand and a YouTube channel outside of it, which always helps whenever you're talking about trying to gain fans and whatnot.
Yeah, as I said, perfect example comparing Talbot to RDR. RDR's coming off some big wins now, and Talbot's coming off that loss. But I think Talbot still has that starish factor that can't be denied. So he's just one win away from regaining that back in the next performance. So yeah, hopefully matchmaking can put him in a favourable situation there. But yeah, there's definitely a thing when it comes to these UFC athletes with who has, as you said, the social media, who has the personalities that sort of just, you know, make people watch. So I agree. Even though he's coming off a loss, I think Talbot is still going to definitely have that it factor.
Nice. We're all kind of in unison there. We got Eric Silva, Pat Barry, Yair Rodriguez, Mokaev are all good examples of why it's dangerous to prospect in hyped rookies. Bo Nickals on the list. Completely agree, man. It's a fun game to play, but at the prices of some of these guys, I don't know if I can recommend that much risk. We got Matty Matt coming in. With all the attention and shine from Topps, Fanatics, and Dana, you would expect heading into 26 to be a big year for UFC cards. Completely agree, man. I think we're going to see a good year in 2025. The Topps is kind of getting their legs underneath them, getting their sea legs from, a crazy 2024 run. They weren't necessarily prepared getting the license late. We could tell in some of those releases, it took some time to get some products out. So I'm curious to see what 25 and 26 holds. As well as Dana being a little more vocal with the cards. Again, he's doing the Rip It Fridays all the time. I'm curious to see, Damian, you might have a good perspective on this. It seems like with WWE, they really push the cards during the broadcasting. Is the UFC ever going to do that, with the cards? Do you think that's possible? Do you think it fits within the broadcasting schedule and like how they're doing it now? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, that's why, yeah, they definitely do. Even the commentators drop notes in there about the product themselves. But I think that's the benefit of having a broadcast like Netflix, for example. Like, basically, the WWE make their own advertisements, so they chuck in the intermission breaks. So they seem to have full control over what they're advertising. Whereas, as I said, if you're on ESPN, for example, you're tied down to what ESPN want to advertise, what they're signed to advertise. So if you get over to a platform like Netflix, for example, or even maybe, I don't know what YouTube would do, but Netflix, for example, you basically make your own commercials. So definitely WWE are pumping the Topps and Fanatics branding as well, along with, WWE have a lot of meet and greet events as well for fans, which they advertise as well, which is always good. But yeah, back to what you were saying before, I just wanted to make a point because I was listening to Sports Card Live just recently. It was an older episode, but they had the one of the co-owners on there from Card Ladder, and basically he was saying March of 2025 they had the highest record sales of trading cards since they started, and it was by quite a long way. So in March 2025, $303 million worth of sales was transacted. Some of that does include sealed product, but all their months always do. Not much of it. Mostly it is on these secondary platforms for single card sales. And the next highest month was back in 2022, which I believe was July of 2022, is 250 million. So it's a lot more. So it goes to show that there is a lot, whether it's a lot more product, a lot more people, making transactions. I think there's a big Pokemon boom at the moment as well, which I don't think can be overlooked, because that is that was probably a big aspect in terms of record sales and stuff. Not the highest sales. He did differentiate. It wasn't the highest sales, but just the most overall sales in terms of value wise. For the March of this year. So that's interesting stat to sort of know about and see what happens in the rest of 2025.
Yeah, man, that's crazy. I definitely wouldn't have pegged that for being the year that was the most ever sales on a platform like that. But cool to hear. We got some people talking about Gene Silva again, V-Buy, WMMA, ran into somebody who has less brain cells than himself. He's a wild man, dude. Jack says he's so cringe, tries too hard. Man, he's just, I don't know if he's trying. I think that's who he is. Like, I just think he's kind of a psycho, and like, it seems like he's always been like that. Also seeing some of his older fights and some of his antics inside the cage. Have you seen the one where he's like hanging on the cage, like barking with his feet off the ground? Like the dude's just crazy, man. We got Roman, Prates is my hunt. Could have some potential deals with him losing to Garry. And this will kind of segue into our next topic here, which is talking about that fight with Ian Garry and Carlos Prates. I mean, I'll go ahead and show this little clip, and then we can kind of, I'll try and mute it here if my computer doesn't shut down and freeze. And we can talk over it about, what do we think is going to happen? With Prates losing, does that really hurt his value? How much does it hurt his value? I mean, he was very close to winning this fight, right, Damian? So in theory, did his potential card pricing take a dive? Do you think it's going to stay, him still being a really big hunt? what are your thoughts on him losing to Garry and how close it was? I mean, he was like punches away from finishing, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think if we're talking about answering the question about like how much does his, rookie chase take a dive, maybe 10% or something. Like, I
So not
think
much.
people still want to throw shade on Ian Garry, but Ian Garry he's top 5 in the welterweight
Yeah,
division. Like,
he's proven it.
We saw that fight with Shavkat. That was also a really, really close, hard fight. As I said, Prates came strong at the end here. It wasn't a bad showing by any means. He just got outclassed in the first few rounds. As I said, which is nothing to be ashamed about, because we are talking about one of the best welterweights at the moment, which is Ian Garry. I think he's still a fan favorite. I think people love his style. As I said, and talking about another just sort of brash guy who seems to win the crowd over. And as I said, he does have an exciting style still. I think, this was a step up in competition. His best win previous to this was Neil Magny.
Yeah.
So
Big
going
jump
from Neil Magny, who is very much the journeyman at the moment in terms of, he gets fed all the new guys. But yeah, he's 21-7, his overall record. But I think, as I said, I think people are gonna maybe overlook what this loss was, and they're gonna still. I think there's still a lot of people get into Carlos Prates for 2025 product. What about you?
Yeah, man, I completely agree with the whole sentiment there. I mean, it was by no means. I mean, he did get outclassed in the first 3 rounds, but like he was really able to kind of dial it in, walk Garry down. I was curious to see how he would handle 5 rounds also, and seemed like he had gas in the tank. I mean, he was so close to finishing that, Damien. He was so close to finishing that. I have to imagine the only reason he couldn't, really let loose a little bit more offense at those moments was because of the gas tank. But I mean, yeah, you're talking about, a top 5 guy in Ian Garry. He was able to survive. He was even able to almost finish that, which is crazy with how badly he was losing that. I mean, he was just getting really kind of pillar to post, getting whooped in there, and really just getting outclassed basically, and not only with Garry landing a couple of takedowns and kind of spamming some takedowns, but also just getting out techniqued and technicianed on the feet also. So really good fight. I'm excited for him. Again, he's an exciting guy. I'm sure he'll have a bunch of really good fights in the UFC, exciting guy as well, and maybe some more finishes. So I'm glad that he's in it. Slight dip potentially, but I think a lot of people like Roman still bought in. Personally, I would be hyped if I'm able to hit him in any products, and I think a lot of people still will be also. We'll head back to the chat real quick, and then we'll move on into kind of the last segment here. If you guys each had to pick one fight correctly on tonight's card, what's it gonna be? I'm gonna guess that's a B at the end. That's a good question, man. We're gonna talk about the card at the end once we talk about this agree or disagree. So we'll hop back over to that, Matt, in a second. Let's see, we're talking about Gene Silva here. He's emotional and challenges it. I like him. Channels it well. Stoked for the future. Let's see. More affordable now. I mean, Dirty from D for D. I think you're right, dude. Sometimes whenever these prospects lose, it almost helps the buy-in value because they do dip a little bit. And we know that basically almost every rookie is going to be inflated in pricing. So potentially that is a good thing, especially if you're a Prates fan. We got Dan Whitlock heading to Florida from the UK. Anyone know where the best places to buy UFC cards? I have no idea, Dan. I'm not from Florida. If somebody is has some knowledge on that, hit him up. Let's see. Yeah, okay. So we'll get into the agree or disagree for today, Damien. And I'm curious to see what the people in the chat think about this also. So if you're watching, thank you for watching. Hit that thumbs up if you haven't already. We're at 24, Damien. We're freaking killing it, dude. That's awesome. So the agree or disagree could be a divisive one. So the premise is there should be less UFC fights per month. Do you agree or disagree with that statement? There should be less UFC fights per month. What do you think, Damien?
I think we're gonna have a bit of controversy here between you and I, because I feel like we've touched on this before, but I disagree. I think there should be more fights per month. So I think the UFC, for example, as a stat, back in 2023, they had 578 fighters signed to their roster. I mean, we could plus minus a little bit with that. Um, let's say that it's 550 now in 2025, for example, which I don't think it would have decreased, but let's say that it has. Every week, 52 weeks of the year, that's still like 10.5 fighters or something that could be fighting. UFC have 12 champions across, both men and women across all weight classes, including the BMF. We can't ignore they have a BMF title because that will be headlining UFC 317 in July. But I think they should be doing 2 pay-per-view events a month. Sorry, we should be having 2
a month. Okay,
2 pay-per-view. These champions, I'm sick. I'm a little bit frustrated, and I'm not sure if I'm the only one, but I feel like some of these champions are just sort of sitting around. I feel like if you're a champion, you should be made to fight twice a year.
6 months.
And I think that would, as I said, that would, and then even have 1 title fight. Don't worry about cramming 2 title fights. Have 1 title fight per pay-per-view twice per month. Have a cool co-main. There's a lot of UFC stars and fighters who aren't champions at the moment. You have a lot of names who carry star power and viewership who aren't champions. So I think there's a lot of value in terms of having, as I said, double the pay-per-views twice a month. And then I would even be having at least 1 UFC event a week. And then I think they should be creating some sort of minor UFC league where you have that on a Wednesday night, for example.
Yeah.
I think you need to be in front of the viewership more. And I think that's one of the frustrating things, not only for UFC fans in terms of viewership, but also these cards. I think that's what hurts in terms of they don't get to perform often enough. And I know it's a brutal sport. But as I said, you've got enough fighters there on the roster. You've got enough champions, I think, to make it done. And as I said, a little bit of a frustration for me as a fan, just with some of these champions, how they sort of sit out and they'll fight once a year, for example. I don't think that's good enough. I think the UFC definitely, as they want to grow, they need to be increasing the events.
All right, man. So we'll go to the chat and see what the chat says before I kind of give my answer. What's up, Chris? Chris says, good morning. We got Down With It, who is a disagree. So he would is agreeing with you there. We got Dirty D4D, disagree. He's agreeing with you as well. Chris, disagree, agrees for you as well. Okay, we got your name here. None. That's pretty hilarious. Less fights. Okay, so he's going to agree with the statement. It's a little watered down. House of Cardboard is again less events per month, as long as it doesn't mean doubling pay-per-view events. Jack, kind of in the middle here with his answer. They need to find a way for their stars to be more active. Seems like time between fights for stars is getting longer and longer. I completely agree with that sentiment that you were making, Damien, and that Jack kind of iterated there. It does seem like, and now I haven't went back and deep dove and really looked at some of the stats and analytics to see if that's true or if that's just what it feels like being a fan. But it does seem like we're getting like what Bilal Muhammad hasn't fought. It's been like a year, right? Maybe right around a year. So he definitely missed the window. I think Islam has been right around 6 months. Ilya seems like he's right around 6 months. But I am going to agree with the statement that we need less pay-per-views and we need less events per year. And I kind of have a couple of reasons for that. Obviously, I love the sport. I love to watch fights. But it has seemed like have been so many more cards that are just like duds, man. And I don't know if this is the UFC not pushing enough star power, if it's maybe the sport is evolving and people are taking less risk. That would make sense. But it just seems like we don't quite have as much star power within the UFC. And there's no off season, right? So like in other sports, you have an off season. The viewers tend to get a little more hungry. We're excited for the sport. Whereas with the UFC, if it's on every single week, like I almost don't even get that like missing the fights. And maybe that's just me, being spoiled with how much we're getting. But there's so many people on the roster. There's so many undercard fights, and some of them are great. But even now, like there's multiple events, which I'll go ahead and pull up here, where like the main card is just like it's crazy that that's the main card. Not to be disrespectful to any of these people, but let's take a look at some of these cards, Damien. And this was just real quick that I looked at some of these. So we've got Emmett and Murphy, obviously makes sense. Then we've got Sabatini and Brito. I don't know if that necessarily deserves a co-main spot. We've got Cortavius Romeus and Lee Chang Ho. We watch the sport all the time. I don't know who those guys are. We've got Brad Tavares and Mir Shart. I know them, but should they be, on the 3 or 4 slot in a main card? I don't think so. Ode Osborne and Luis Gurul. I've never heard of Gurul. That's crazy. Torres, Finney, and Valentin. Now, these guys had a little bit of steam behind them, but for them to be on the main card, in one of their first fights and coming off a loss is insane to me. And Damien, I can find like 3 or 4 more of these cards where it's just like, this is the main card that we have. I mean, that's the one we're watching tonight, obviously not in that conversation. But to me, we need to figure something out, whether it is the UFC figuring out how to better push some of these athletes, better push, make stars, or like you said, maybe we have a D-League and we put some of these prelims on a totally separate event during the week. Maybe it's like, kind of like how they do with the Contender Series. Maybe it's a whole card in a different format, but we got to figure something out. To me, the quality of fights just seem like they're slowly kind of dipping down. Who knows what that means? Is it just me? Are there other people that feel like that? Obviously, you and a bunch of other people are disagreeing, so maybe it's just a personal opinion. But I thought it was an interesting topic to talk about.
First off, how dare you disrespect the name Luis Gurul? He's probably my second favorite chase in 2025 rookie card products. So
okay,
the fact that you don't know who that is absolutely crazy.
Yell at me as a casual.
No, to be fair, I think as you were pointing out, it is a scheduling problem, and I think what I can only imagine, like, UFC is still coming away from the Apex events, which as I said, I talked about. There's a lot of UFC stars who don't have belts, who could be headlining these events, but they don't want to be fighting at the Apex. I understand that. So hopefully, as the UFC get away from that now and they start going out to different cities each and every week, they can make bigger events and they get these bigger stars probably more keen. I don't know if they throw more money at them or what they've got to do, but they could be bumping up some of these, week-to-week cards with bigger names if they were given the right opportunity. So hopefully the scheduling can get a little bit bigger as well, in terms of what fighters are fighting when.
Yeah, man. I think we're kind of at a point where, and some people in the chat are alluding to this, where it could be the pay-per-view structure, and maybe that is having to do with some of this, and maybe once they move away from the pay-per-view structure, maybe they can organize the star talent a little bit, put it in different events and not necessarily have it more stacked for the pay-per-view, and maybe that's some of it. But yeah, it just seems like there's so many people in the organization, there's so many good fighters, there's so many fun matchups that we could have, and with 15 people being ranked in each division, it seems like we should be getting a ton of really fun matchups all the time. But who knows, man? I mean, something to think about, and hopefully something will change in the future with the Netflix deal, and maybe they can reorganize some of the programming, and like you're saying, maybe come up with a different solution, because a lot of times I'm like, oh, let's check out the fight for this weekend, and I'm like, there's maybe 3 or 4 people on the docket that I'm really excited to see, or 4 matchups, and if I'm saying that and I'm like a big fan, like to me that's kind of a sign of something that needs to be addressed, in my opinion.
Yeah, we'll see what happens, but yeah, I think, as I said, if they can get their scheduling a little bit better, obviously I disagreed. I think that they need to get more product, more events out in front of the people for the sport to keep growing and booming.
All right, man. Fun topic there. It seems like more people were on your side saying that the way they have it is good, and maybe even potentially should have more events. But fun topic. So we'll go ahead and we'll go over to talk about some of the fights tonight, man. Thanks again for everybody watching. Appreciate you. We're flying through. It's almost been like an hour. So we'll talk about some of the fights tonight, man. And earlier in the live, Matt Golden Octagon was saying, if you could have one fight where you're picking it as who's going to win, what's it going to be? I'm going to go with the late replacement BSD, and BSD has not looked great as of late, man. So maybe that's a risky pick, but I feel like anytime you have somebody that's coming in short notice that's relatively unknown, I'm almost always going to pick the guy that has been training for a training camp and that's already established in the UFC and been preparing for war. Pun intended, because he's French Special Forces. But what about you, man? Who do you think, if you were going to pick a fight as a lock today for a bet, what do you got?
I think this could be controversial. I think Shevchenko is going to lose. I think
Oh, I like it. Okay.
Fiat is going to get it done. I mean, we've just had Valentina fight a Grasso 55 times. Fiat's look good. I think it's time for a change of guard. So I think Fiat's going to get the win tonight for sure, actually.
Nice, man. Interesting. I always go with the salty vet, so I'd be going Bullet in that one. But while we're talking about Shevchenko, I wanted to talk to you about what happens if Shevchenko wins, man. The division, she's cleared it out. She's been at the top for so long. Now, obviously, she lost to Grasso, but, they ran it back. They've settled it. She wins again. She's been here for so long. In my opinion, we need some juice in this division, man. We need some juice in women's MMA right now. Kayla Harrison's doing her part. Zhang Weili is doing her part. And that is what I want to see if Bullet wins tonight. We got to see the super fight, dude. How are people not talking about this? Everybody's talking about Islam and Ilya. Why are people not talking about this super fight? This is the one that needs to happen. This is the one that deserves to happen. Both of these people have been around forever. They've fought a who's who. They've won a who's who. They need to do a super fight. So I've got my fingers crossed that you're wrong, dude. I got my fingers crossed that you're wrong and that Bullet wins. But if Manon wins, I guess we have some other good matchups there as well, and kind of a changing of the guard. So we could have some good matchups either way. But I wanted to give love to these two, and hopefully this happens one day.
No, 100%. I can't disagree with that. That super fight would be awesome, and I agree. If Shevchenko gets the job done, they've got to make this fight because that'd be a big event for sure.
Nice. All right, we got Matt talking about that's not a risky pick. He's a -1,000 favorite. Oh wow. Well, you didn't mention odds, dude. You said who do I think is going to win, and I told you who's going to win, Matt. That's my pick. The odds makers agree there. Let's see. Ooh, we got a kind of a hot take here. Not a hot take, but if Val can't secure takedowns, she's done, in my opinion. So she could get outclassed on the feet. That's why they square up in the cage, man. You settle it all. We got Eli in the house. What's up, dude? Valentina via TKO. Should be fun. We got Val again. And Matt with the obvious answer here. Because people aren't talking about it because fans are dudes and they hate women's MMA. Sadly, I think a lot of people would fit that. But when you're talking about these two goats, how can you hate these two?
Fight for sure.
Like this has been the face of the sport for so long. They put on really entertaining fights. They've entertained us for years. Hopefully, eventually this happens. But then, Damian, we got the other fight happening tonight, right? We got JDM and Belal Muhammad. What's your thoughts on that, everybody who's watching? Who do you think is going to take it, JDM or Belal? And Damian, what do you think's going down?
I was really impressed. Still can't help but be really impressed by JDM's outing with Gilbert Burns. Obviously, Belal Muhammad is not Gilbert Burns, but I just really hope. I think Australia we need two champions. We've got Volkanovski there at the top again at featherweight. Ideally, yeah, I'd love to see. Selfishly, I would like to see Topuria versus Islam, but I'd also like to see Islam step up to 170 and maybe become the double champ status. That would be very cool for Islam, his legacy and his cards as well. His overall hobby pricing, but JDM, I think, has all the tools to beat someone like Belal Muhammad, who is probably becoming one of the most cringiest champions that we have. Not an exciting style. I think the UFC want him out for obvious reasons in terms of, the fans trash him more than they like him. I think JDM would just be such a hometown hero type story for him to secure the title tonight. And then there's a lot of exciting fights for him as well at 170 as well, moving forward. So JDM, I think he gets it done on the feet. I think if he can stop
Oh,
some of
that'd be
these
crazy,
takedowns,
dude.
you know, Bilal's talking trash, reverse psychology saying he's going to show the hands of Canelo.
Got hands like Canelo, man.
Yeah, I think I think JDM gets him on the chin. I think he gets it done. Round 3.
Oh, I like it. Bold prediction here, round 3. I want JDM to win. Let me start with this, right? I want JDM to win. He's a guy that I have been following pretty closely for a while. I think I did a video on him like 2 or 3 years ago. It's super fun guy to watch, man. I love all of his skills. He's super exciting. I like his attitude. He comes to finish. Like this guy is a guy that I really have wanted to succeed because of how entertaining he is. With that being said, Damian, Belal Muhammad is a tough puzzle to solve, man. He is very strong. While I don't think he has hands like Canelo, he does have decent boxing, and he uses the hands to get up in your face and to kind of drain your gas tank. I don't think he's necessarily dangerous with his hands, although Sean Brady might disagree. But yeah. I think he uses that in his game plan really well, and he fights smart. He has a great gas tank. He put it on my boy Leon, although Leon busted him up in the last minute. People get it twisted, man. Leon was a round away from winning that fight. If they had 6 rounds, he wins that fight. Take it to the bank. But but I'm nervous. I'm nervous that JDM's gonna lose this one, honestly. I want JDM to win, but and Matt, if you're watching, what are the odds on this? I'm curious on that. I would have to think that Belal is the favorite here. 5-round pedigree. We've seen Jack struggle with takedown guys, struggled against Hafez, struggled against Gilbert Burns. I mean, I'll pose the question to you. Is Belal Muhammad a better wrestler than both of those? Is he a better grappler?
Yeah, I think so, but it doesn't matter. JDM broke his arm in the first round of that fight, and he still got the finish done in the 3rd round. So
that's fair, man.
Can never rule him out. And as I said, I think if anything, maybe no, I don't know. But the funny thing is, this was meant to be Shavkat. We were meant to be having Shavkat and Belal, and obviously Shavkat got injured.
Fair.
So, but if JDM doesn't get the job done, which I think he does, I actually think he's going to be one of those heartwarming stories where JDM gets the victory tonight, and we can all, you know, go to sleep feeling very, very good about ourselves.
That would be awesome, man. We got some people in the chat agreeing. It's going to be a good time, and it's going to be a good time. And we have the other storyline to talk about here, dude. I was glad somebody made this graphic because it's easy to explain at this point for the viewers watching. Although you guys probably already know, right? But this is what happens, right? Okay, so we got Belal Muhammad on the left side. We got Belal Muhammad right here. If he wins, then this is what we get. We get Islam versus Ilya. Before I move on that, I don't like this matchup, man. I understand why people love it, but like, to me, you're taking a guy that is in his prime, that is on, you know, an all-time run like Islam, and you're making him fight another person coming up from featherweight. Damian, I know exactly what people are going to say in 10 years when they look at this resume. They're going to say, he only beat people that were featherweights moving up. Like, that's not that impressive. I guarantee you that's what people are going to say whenever they look back in time. And I want to see him fighting the best of the best in this division, or moving up at this point. He has the title defenses. He's kind of beaten the who's who at the top of this division. So personally, while I do want to see Ilya versus Islam eventually, I think right now that's rushed, and I don't necessarily want to see it. Is that a hot take, Damian? What do you think about that? Are you hyped for that fight, or do you think it's premature? What are your thoughts?
I'm hyped for this fight just because it's a super fight, and I think I'm just curious to see what Ilya can do, given that he's just knocked out Volkanovski and knocked out Holloway. But Islam's side, I agree. I think I actually don't think that Islam should move up. I think there's a lot more fights at lightweight. I mean, there's Gaethje. We've got Arman there as well, who should be having a title fight, and there's even a couple of, like, could be talking about Paddy, could be up there in the next 1 or 2 fights as well, title contention. There's a lot of names for Islam to take care of, I think, before he goes moving up. But it seems to be the play now, you know, get 1 or 2 wins as a champion and then you move up. But I think Islam should be staying at 155. I agree with you. I think long term wise, people could be a smudge in terms of he beats Ilya, but you know Ilya was the small guy from featherweight who came up, so it's maybe takes the rub off that win if he was to win that fight. As I said, Ilya has really nothing to lose.
It makes perfect
But
sense if
yeah,
you're Ilya. I completely understand why.
but yeah, I think Islam needs to. I'd like to see Islam versus Gaethje, and I'd like to see Islam against Arman at least as well before he went and moved up to welterweight. But it's the UFC. That's what they do these days. So
All right, well, we'll go back to the chat here for a second. Bilal, not getting enough respect, in my opinion, from Maddie Mack. I agree. I think it's going to be a tough fight, man. Bilal is not an easy guy to beat. We got Matt saying, JM, tough fight to call. It stayed out of my parlays. Probably a smart move. Dirty D4D. Bilal wins, calls out Islam, but he is too dumb to get that money. I think the Islam Bilal fight would be really fun too. I was kind of sad that they didn't make that happen. That would have been two guys that are really good, grapplers. It could have been just a stand-up fight, and that would have been fun to see how that went. Roman says, JD. Go ahead.
I was going to say they could have made that like a cool Bad Blood story, like two training fans who are now like, that could be fun.
It would have been a fun one, man. And I'm kind of sad that's not happening, because also the community would have been happy to see, Islam. I think that he's pretty beloved, relatively. I know there's some polarizing things there, but then you would have had Bilal just be the ultimate bad guy in that fight. So that would have been kind of fun too. JDM said that kid is not Ian's son. Yeah, that was pretty wild. We got some dudes that want JDM to win. I think everybody wants JDM to win, man. Bo, hopefully JDM. House of Cardboard, he's intelligent, doesn't say anything cringe. The only thing cringe is that he's boring. I have a hard time believing that JDM's not going to make this an exciting fight. Like, that's just who he is. Every fight he's been in has been exciting. So we'll see what happens tonight, though, man. And shout out to RV. He's got that Shavkat giveaway. You guys go check him out in his channel. Matt with the update. Bilal's -200. That makes sense to me. I mean, he should be the favorite, especially in a 5-round fight. Like, JDM does have really good cardio, but when it comes to the grappling, like, I'm a little scared that he's gonna get somewhat dominated in the grappling aspect, and we know that that's a huge part of Bilal's game. So we'll see what happens. And then of course, man, we didn't even talk about it. If JDM wins, we have Islam potentially moving up, which I would imagine if JDM wins, he's immediately that's the fight to make, which kind of sucks for JDM. Your first win, you're getting a guy moving up a weight class, which is kind of a lose-lose situation for you. But that would be a really fun fight too. Like, talk about a high-level striking match. You got people said Poirier was one of the best boxers in the UFC, and you saw Islam put those paws on him, man. So we know he's a bad man with the boxing. And then you have JDM, who is legit one of the best boxers in the UFC, in my opinion, along with the other guy on the screen, Ilia Topuria. So that would be a great striking matchup. What do you think about that, man? Who would you pick in that, and do you think people would be hyped about that one?
I think people would be hyped about JD. I said I don't think JDM would be upset about it, because I think that could be a big money fight for him, especially coming in as champion, pay-per-view points. Islam, I've seen photos, Islam standing next to Bilal, and Islam makes Bilal look like he's a 155 champion. Islam is a big dude. I agree. He's got awesome hands. We've seen that across numerous fights now. That would be a fun fight. I mean, it's hard to know the naturally 170 guy coming up against I don't know if Islam's naturally 170. As I said, he looks like a massive individual as well, especially for that weight class. But that would really be a bit of a coin flip, I think, that fight, for sure. I wouldn't be able to accurately say who I think would win that one, but it would be definitely a fun one to watch. And as I said, it's what the UFC are doing now in terms of making these super fights, which is great for us fans.
Yeah, man. See, like, when we're talking about the events that get people hyped and the matchups that get people hyped, like, this is the kind of stuff that really makes a buzz that everybody loves to hear. So I'm glad that they basically came out and told us, like, this is hey, these are the future matchups. This is what could happen if these people win. Like, I think this kind of stuff it creates a lot of buzz that potentially wouldn't be there if they don't tell us that. and everybody's hyped about this. Now, I personally would love to see Olives versus Topuria. I would also love to see Arman Topuria or Gaethje Topuria. Like, to me, those are the three fights that make the most sense in that lightweight division whenever you're talking about Topuria coming up. Now, if he had, like with the Volk Islam, right, you have 4 title defenses, like it makes sense for you to jump the line and fight the champ. But when you just basically got the belt, now I know he beat Volk, I know he beat Max, but there's still some other guys in that division that are deserving of a title shot. And for him to come up at this point, in my opinion, I think Ilya should get a Charles, should get a Gaethje, should get an Arman. But either way, really, it's going to be a sick fight. Whoever wins tonight, all of these matchups are going to be fun. So it's kind of a win-win for the fans, but just some personal preference there.
Yeah, no, I definitely, especially because he's vacated the featherweight title as well. It's not like he's just sort of keeping the title and coming up for a once-off. So he's vacated featherweight. He's up in lightweight now officially. So yeah, it makes sense for him to have at least a #1 contenders fight first for the belt, for sure.
Nice, man. Some really, really good stuff. Thanks everybody for watching. Thanks again, Damien, for getting up bright and early, man. I'm sorry you had to get up at 7. You know, the 7 a.m. start time is rough. You're basically a morning news anchor today, dude. You're up bright and early for the people, so I appreciate that.
Yep. Well, we'll cut to the clip now, the dog on the surfboard, and we'll
yeah, so thanks everybody for watching. 29 likes, Damien. We obliterated our 15 like goal. If you're watching and you haven't liked, you could make it a nice round 30 if you want. I mean, up to you, but that'd be pretty sick if you did. Me and Damien would appreciate that. So thanks everybody who came out. We'll go ahead and hit the, we'll get caught up on some of the comments here in the chat, and then we can call it, and I'll let all you guys get to watching fights for tonight. Oh, we got an even 30. Thank you for whoever did that. Even 30.
Thank you, people. Yeah, we appreciate it.
All right, JDM throwing strikes from the bottom, getting the decision because Bilal only strikes until he gets dropped, then holds on. Judges give it to JDM. So JDM fights Islam and Ilya fights Charles. That, I mean, you never know what's going to happen, dude. You never know what's going to happen. If Islam wins the welterweight belt, him versus Shavkat would be insane. It would be, man. That's what's kind of cool when you have a longtime champion in one division, right? Like, we've kind of seen all of the matchups take place in that division. Like, that's when you move up, and now the world is open for a bunch of fun new matchups. But again, we'll see what happens tonight. We've got some people, nice. I like we've got some people talking about a little rookie card opinions and talking about gold label. Dirty D4D heel turn Bilal. I think he's talking about if Islam and him fought, which would be pretty hilarious. Bilal trained. Yeah, he does train with them, and I think that's kind of but it was pretty recent though, right? Wasn't it only for like a couple months? It's not like they've been training together for a long time.
No, I think Bilal started training with Khabib like maybe 2 years ago or so. It's been some time now. He's been training with Khabib, so there is enough history there. But as I said, that would make
little ties
if they were to fight. Yeah.
I mean, shoot, you give me and Damien enough money, we're scrapping even though we're boys. I know that's the truth. You sign the check, you put enough stacks on the table, and we'll figure it out and we'll party afterwards. We got, what's up, dude? We got J Money catching tail end. JDM takes it tonight by KO and calls out the 2 guys that beat him in his first 2 fights. Well, we'll see, man. I hope you're right. The universe would be happy if JDM wins, I guess. I think everybody can kind of agree with that. Give me Ilya versus Islam. I need Ilya as far away from Charles as possible. Oh, I didn't even think about that. The potential PC battle that would be happening there for J Money.
UFC, J Money has a PC battle like every weekend. Like
he does.
Yeah, you know, we've got Dustin, we've got Ilya, we have Charles, we have Volkanovski. They've all fought each other about 5 times now, so he must be pulling his hair out every week. Yeah,
dude, he's just stressed. He's stressed that that Islam's coming for Ilya now after, you know, getting Charles, getting all of his guys, after getting Poirier and Volk. He's just scared, dude. He's scared.
I'm organising we're going to have a card bet, me and J Money, on this Max Holloway, Dustin Poirier.
Oh, nice.
Title, so we'll keep
nice.
the people updated with what goes on.
Yes, sir. All right, we got a couple more and then we'll sign off here. Roman, appreciate you, man. Thanks for coming by. House of Cardboard. thanks for watching, dude. Appreciate you for jumping in the chat and giving us some good stuff to work with. Bo, appreciate you, man. Thanks for coming by, dude.
Thanks, Bo.
Here, I don't think this guy's commented yet. Tim's San Francisco Giants, man, 30. I don't know what he's specifically talking about with 30, but thanks for coming, dude. I appreciate you.
30 likes.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Oh, thanks, dude. Tim's the man.
Tim
you know what?
Over the edge.
You're the man, dude. And that's about it. So thanks for watching, everybody. Appreciate you. Be sure to go and follow Damien if you're not already. We're going to be live on his channel. What do you think? I know it's spitball, but like 2 weeks. What do you think?
Yeah, 2-ish weeks, 2-ish, max 3 weeks.
Nice. So yeah, so
probably 2 weeks.
So be ready for that.
Keep updated. Follow the socials, and we'll keep you all updated. But we'll be back on my channel doing this again. So once again, if you didn't get any comments, any questions, feel free to hit me and Zach in the DMs and Instagram as well if you have a question you want us to answer on one of these lives or our collabs. Yes, sir. Please give us questions, guys. We love it. What's up, Albino? Good to see you again, man. Need to get you on the channel again in the future. Easy D. Dude, this is sick right here. Just been lurking, never commented, enjoyed the stream. That's awesome, man. I appreciate all the lurkers out there too. And thank you for you know, getting over your fears and commenting. That's a big step, man. Personal growth. Yeah, we appreciate it. We definitely appreciate you not only watching, but if you know you've got the comment in now, we definitely appreciate it. So thank you.
All right, and Objecto, cheers, man. Cheers, signing off. All right, everybody. See you next time on Damien's channel. Thanks for watching.